Championship Sunday Bassmaster Elite Lake Champlain. Got about less than 2 hours of fishing time. Let's take a look quickly at Progressive Elite Series Angler of the Year points right now, and our classic champ still on top, still the #1 threat to win this thing, which would be quite an accomplishment, being the third angler ever to win the Classic and win Angler of the Year in the same year. Cory Johnston, not that far back though, and we are headed. We are in the north, and we are headed further north after this. Just enough said about that. Jacob Foutz in third place. He's out there fishing right now. Got a few points he could gain today. J.T. Tompkins, Trey McKinney, Jay Shakurit, and on down the list. They are done for this week, but they will be back in action next week. It's going to be a close one all the way.
It is going to be a close one. It's going to be very interesting. I can guarantee Justin Hammer a way to win Bass Angler of the Year 2024. Top 13 at the St. Lawrence River.
All right, there you go.
He can
Simple
control
arithmetic.
Did it last year.
All variables. Just go finish top 13. It doesn't matter what Cory Johnston and friends do.
This here is the Bassmaster Midday Report. Let's launch right on into it and get with our man, GDP Greg DePalma of New Jersey, having a great tournament here this week.
Absolutely having a great tournament. GDP, not a great day today, but hey, if you're going to have a little slower day, today is the day to do it. He has made some valuable points this week towards making the Bassmaster Classic. If he goes next week and just has an above average tournament, certainly can make the Bassmaster Classic, which I would think is his big goal, or big goal number 2. He's got another big goal here coming up real soon. He and his wife are expecting a baby any day now, so make the Classic next week. Go have a child in addition to your family. That'd be awesome.
Yes. One of the big stars of our northern swing last year, maybe the biggest star, Patrick Walters, winning up there in the St. Lawrence and Lake Ontario. Huge limit of smallmouth. Not a huge limit of anything today. He's just kind of been plugging along and stuck on 12 pounds.
He broke out the big stick swinging this morning, throwing the top order. We were all glad to see him doing that, but I think it set him back a little bit this morning, kind of a slower start. He's been known to have those slow starts, but he usually does a great job recovering. Like you mentioned, Tom, he's got about 2 more hours, not quite 2 hours left. So he's got time, but a little slower today. I don't blame him for a little different look this morning. The weather was certainly conducive to some top order fishing, but it just did not work out for him. But he can get a lot done in the next hour and a half.
Zaldain has sure spent some time being Mr. Excitement around here for sure. Day number 2 was especially good for him. And into those largemouth then, but today's not been quite as fast, not as hot and heavy.
Very same and similar story. Zaldain said, not even going to retie my smallmouth equipment overnight. I'm going to go largemouth fishing, and he did, and got a little slower start, but he's caught percentage-wise more largemouth today than he has any other day this week. Very familiar area right here where he caught a couple of real good ones on day 1. Broke out a special bait for us this morning. It was a bait that he said he and Aaron Martins flipped the coin over who would get the last one, and he's throwing it here this week. That would have been awesome for him to catch a couple of 5-pounders in Aaron's memory, but that has not worked out so far. But there again, another hour and a half of fishing to go. Maybe it'll happen for Cory Zaldain.
Another huge player in Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year points race. Third place as it stands right now. Jacob Foutz of Tennessee, man, Mr. Steady for the last 11 Bassmaster Elite Series events.
He has been, and he has been steady this week. To be honest with you, I'm more surprised by him having a slower day than any of the others we've talked about so far, because they made some changes, made some gambles to try to have a chance to move up and have a chance to win this event. Jacob Foutz has just had a slower day than he has the last few days we've been with him. He's been able to catch 3.25, 3.5 pound smallmouth with ease, but it's not been that easy for him today.
I know the last 2 days he's been able to, once he got it dialed in the morning, he says, look, I'm going to catch him this size, good size all day long, and he did. Something's a little different today.
Yeah, and I don't understand it, to be honest with you, and I'm sure he's scratching his head also, because the weather looks like it would be easier on him to do what he loves to do, use his live sonar, fishing out deep, looking for these groups of fish. They're just not biting as well for him today. The last fish he caught, he said, I chased those 2 fish forever before I could get that fish to bite. That has not been the case. Those fish have been coming up off the bottom. His bait wouldn't get halfway down to him the last few days. A lot of those fish would just come up so aggressively, but it's not been that way for him today.
Alabama's Will Davis started the first 2 days, each of those with 20 pounds plus. Fell off the pace just a little bit yesterday, so trying to catch up today, but hasn't made a lot of headway that way.
Been off to a real fast start every other morning this week, jumping up to the top 2 or 3 positions on our leaderboard unofficially. I think he made a change this morning, obviously. Started in a different area, but I think he had in mind, I need to catch a few more of those green fish. We saw him in the marina area right close to takeoff for a lot of the morning this morning. Was able to catch fish, but a lot of smallmouth up around those boat docks. It's just really unusual, but a good day. Made a little change. Didn't go up to the top of the leaderboard like he did a couple of days this week, but still a lot of fishing time. So many of these anglers are 1 or, like a Seth Fighter, 2 5-pounders from having a chance to be right there in the thick of things. But they are going to need, like Will Davis and some of the others we've talked about so far, they're going to need 1 or 2 of those fish to have a chance.
Will Davis currently in 6th place, about 4.5 pounds back of our leader, Ed Loughran, at this point. Cory Johnston, all eyes on Cory Johnston. Fabulous record over the last 6 years with the Bassmaster Elite Series. Started this day down there, 9th place, and really moved up fast early on.
It seems like last year, Tommy, Davey, Such, that the winning weight was 86 pounds, and a lot of anglers hit that 80-pound mark, just 4 or 5 pounds off the pace. It seems like 75 is the mark today. A lot of guys are topping it around 75, 76 pounds. Cory even caught a bonus big largemouth. You want to catch largemouth, but that 5+ this morning really helped give him, hey, maybe I can win this if it works out.
Time of year, and we talked about it's not just the time of year, it's also the winters, how quickly it warms up in the spring. But if you think about it, 75 instead of 80 pound has kind of been the mark. That's a 1/4 pound per fish over 20 fish over 5 days.
Yeah.
These smallmouth look to be about a 1/4 pound lighter than they were last year when we were here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cory Johnston won, though, that went and got a limit of smallmouth early on and then went up shallow and caught some good largemouth. That one in particular is a 5-pounder, and he lost another big one in 5th place, but another one of those big largemouth calls would put him right there. And he has spent a good bit of time up there trying to do it. Saw him lose one other nice fish that definitely would have helped him.
Matt Robertson rolled in here after a pretty brutal season so far for the man from Kentucky. But really has been super steady and catching the most consistent high weights, only man over 20 pounds of the first 3 days.
Yeah. This looks like the Matt Robertson we saw a lot of last year. It seems like he led, maybe only for the first day or the second day, but he led about half the events last year, and it has not been that way for him this year. Good to see him turn it around. He's caught 20 pounds and change for the first 3 days of this event and said, I'm on nothing. I'm just trying to catch a few smallmouth and then go catch those green ones, and I'm going to put it all on the line today, and all in on green ones, and that lasted about an hour this morning. And he's been able to go out and be able to fill his limit with some smallmouth bass, but the largemouth have been stingy for him today.
Whenever the line wraps around their face.
Yeah, the weight shows at about 15 pounds and 11 ounces unofficially right now for Matt Robertson. Now over to Chris Johnston. Chris Johnston, number 2. Progressive Bassmaster Angler of the Year points unofficially right now. Big day for him. Not a whole lot he could gain points-wise today, for sure.
He could get within 12.
Yeah.
I think he started the day 14, and he was third place, so maybe 13, maybe 12. 12 would be great for him, but within that, he'll be within 20 points of the lead, and Justin Hamner will have to catch him decently well next week.
Not a lot of room for him to go up because he's had such a good tournament so far, but I think we haven't seen him up there looking for the largemouth as much as his brother because, hey, I can't go up very much, but I can go down. And if I go down 4 or 5 places, that might make it really, really tough. If I leave the door open where Justin Hamner has to have only a top 20 instead of a top 12, that's a whole different animal there at the St. Lawrence River.
Well, just a few ounces out of the lead. Man, we have spent a lot of time in the boat with this young man, the rookie Robert G. Keep his reputation, his accolades just keep growing this year.
He's done a great job starting out the year at Toledo Bend, being on live several days there. He's been just fun to be in the boat with and to talk with. Good sense of humor, whether he's getting a Chick-fil-A sandwich or giving a smallmouth bass a pat on the on the tummy. He's been fun to be in the boat with. There we go.
Like that.
He has certainly been fun.
Is it
and a
tummy
great
taps
fisherman.
or belly pats? Tummy taps or what?
Yeah, what is the difference between a tummy and a belly? Maybe
Tummy tap and
the
a belly
size?
pat. I'll say, I was engaging, on social media with some folks who were saying that this isn't their favorite style of fishing to watch. But I said when you watch Robert G do it, it does make it fun. He is very talkative at times and definitely he's happy to be fishing.
That's a great point right there. A lot of guys, you feel like they're locking out the world.
Yeah.
Including us sitting there behind him. Yeah. He brings us into it.
Hey, we've seen some guys that flip shallow and don't say a word, but those guys who flip shallow and talk to you, it's the same type of thing. But Robert G, man, ounces from a couple wins this year. Could he get it done today?
Our leader, Ed Loughran, started the day with the lead. Big day on day number 3, and a lot of that wheeled around largemouth, and not so much in the way of largemouth action, especially to start the day, Davey Hyde.
Yeah, big change for Ed this morning, and you noticed it, Tommy. The water clarity definitely changed in the area there for Ed, and you would think, wow, that's going to help all of his fish, but it certainly has helped the smallmouth, but not the largemouth. And I don't know if the water clarity has affected them as much as just the pressure. He's got 3 key areas, 3 waypoints that are high spots on this grass hump. Some boulders mixed in certainly make the little waypoint areas special. These fish replenish pretty well on this lake, but you start catching 4.5 to 5.5 pound largemouth on this lake, they're just not everywhere. Even if they do replenish, they're not going to replenish with those 5.5, 5 pound, 12 ounce largemouth very often on this lake. So we'll have to see. Ed's done a lot of other things today to try to just catch enough to win. He was looking for a 20 pound mark to guarantee a win. He is not there, so I don't think he's got a guaranteed win.
That goes to show you there, guys, that if he can catch a 5.12 largemouth, he can catch a 5.7 largemouth, and someone like Robert G or Cory Johnston can catch all smallmouth and be able to maybe beat him, that says how quality of smallmouth they're catching. At the Dakota Lithium Screen Knowledge, wanted to talk about the main man, Ed Loughran, our day 3 leader, trying to do something no one else has done this week, and that is lead 2 days on Lake Champlain. We've had a different leader every single day, and I wanted to show a little bit of Bassmaster mapping in 2 general regions. He's got a big bay to work with, a lot of anglers who made big risks and gambles this week down to Ticonderoga were calling Ed and saying, we know you're not up here with us, but are you down in Ticonderoga? He is not quite down that far, but in his bay, one thing I like, Davey, is we've got multiple shades here. The red, obviously, is the shallowest it gets. We've got a little bit of separation from 1-foot contours. The green is that mid-depth, 6 to 15 feet. You get the teens to the 20s is yellow. He's got a lot of depths to work with, that he can fish for smallmouth, fish for largemouth. It's a great opportunity for him to bounce back and forth. A lot of points as well, and then it dumps off into the main channel in the dark green. I wanted to show one more aspect of his area. I just messed it up there a little bit, but one more aspect of his area is those high spots we talked about earlier this morning that he was using topwater for smallmouth. They're pretty noticeable on Bassmaster mapping if this is the exact spot, but long expansive area of the same general contours within 5 or 6 feet, and these high spots in green, and even that one that's not green, it's still higher by 2 or 3 feet. All of these places are great places that within this expansive contour that these fish have something different to go to. It's a little bit shallower, maybe the vegetation's growing up on it, maybe boulders off the side of it. There's 4, 5, 6 different areas that these groups of fish can move to, whether it's wind, water clarity, or bait. We've seen perch come in factor for him. So multiple places that we got to poke around on Bassmaster mapping and see Ed Loughran's sweet spots. Don't tell Ed, but he's got the best bay to himself. That is one big thing, is maybe it wasn't the best area, but it was an area that he had all to himself, which is huge on the Elite Series. You never get that.
Always huge.
Had one local in a boat yesterday, a bass boat around him some yesterday, maybe fishing a club tournament or something, but it wasn't another elite angler, but just one local in 4 days. That doesn't happen very often.
Ed with a good understanding of northern largemouth, northern fishing in general, New York fishing, even though he lives in Virginia. I think in the world of bass fishing, Virginia is considered a northern state almost.
That's that line.
Yeah.
You can even see on the bluff wall over there, some of that could be waves. but you can see the water level from where it was much higher a month or two ago, and it's fallen a little bit to get back to normalcy.
It would be interesting to know, with a south wind as strong as we've had, how much out of level, so to speak, that a lake like Lake Champlain could be. How much water would push north with that hard south wind for multiple days? Would it come up 6 inches?
It's like
3
Lake
inches?
Okeechobee where we talk about that. That's where we see it a lot there with it being a bowl.
But a place this big and the
no doubt.
strength of the south wind we had for the length of time.
Again, Ed Loughran, you know, medical issues for the last 2 tournaments down in Alabama. Had to go sort of on injured reserve. He is back now, back with a vengeance, trying to win his first elite.
I was out for 2 tournaments with a medical issue, kidney stones, solely from dehydration. My advice to everybody, drink a lot of water. It will fix 90% of your issues. First time I ever fished this lake was 1991. This is the first elite event that my family have been able to come to. They did come to the Classic when I fished it in Fort Worth a couple years ago and did well. That was terrific. It's just been a big party every night at dinner, and it's been very enjoyable. So it's very important to have them here, and both kids are now going off to college, and so I'm hoping that I can just pull one more 20, 21 pound day out of this place and maybe bring home the trophy.
Our SV spool design is made with one thing in mind: casting control. Whether it is casting lightweight baits, skipping, pitching, or casting into the wind, the Tatula SV reels virtually eliminate backlashes when set properly.